So Liam's been the number one team in his fantasy league all year,
Mm-hmm.
and he had to go against Lamar Jackson today.
Oh,
Yeah, and he had Deshaun Watson from yesterday.
ah,
But he beat
wow.
his team. He had 47 points from Lamar Jackson. Liam had 14 points from Deshaun Watson, and he won 193 to 189,
Wow.
193.06 to 189.62. So it's fun
Incredible.
when you see how crazy fantasy football can be,
Yeah.
especially in week 16, championship week, and we are here for you. It is the Audible, Cecil Lammey, Sigmund Bloom. It is our week 16 recap where we go beyond the box score and let you know exactly what happened in all of Sunday's action from across the National Football League. Bloom, we won't be recapping Saturday's games, but we can bring them up in passing
Yeah.
because obviously they impacted what people did. But we're going to start with Atlanta 24, Jacksonville 12, Gardner Minshew 181, one touchdown, no INTs. Leonard Fournette 15 carries, 71 yards in this one. Chris Conley gets the one touchdown, 2 for 56 and a touch. But really, you maybe trusted DJ Chark 2 for 18. Maybe trusted D.D. Westbrook 2 for 5. I hate to use the word trust and Jacksonville in the same sentence, especially the way they'd been playing, but really not much here outside of Fournette.
Yeah, Cease, when you think about this game and just how things have been going for Jacksonville, you thought maybe there'd be a little dead cat bounce because of the Tom Coughlin firing. No. Another dead man walking team, Atlanta, on the other side of this. And Minshew Mania and this happened in the same season. That's how big NFL seasons are. That they can hold both of those things. It's incredible, and you reflect on a lot. And you're right. I mean, basically, the underlying thing is here. You didn't want to trust. Chris Conley caught a long touchdown. Leonard Fournette, and this is also kind of a story of the Jacksonville season. Leonard Fournette took a big step forward as a person, as a player this year. For fantasy, it didn't really result in a lot, but his trajectory is still going up. So that's an interesting thing in the future. Obviously, what is this team going to do with Doug Marrone, the whole coaching staff? That it seemed like was trending towards maybe they'll keep them, but this is part of the evaluation process. It can't be positive. Even quarterback, just a lot of things. This franchise at a crossroads again 2 years ago, a play from the Super Bowl. Now really bottoming out in this game.
Nick Foles somewhere going, maybe I should go be a pastor.
Yeah.
You never know. Let's talk about the Atlanta side of things. And Matt Ryan, 384 yards, one touchdown, 2 INTs. The touchdown goes to Devonta Freeman, 9 for 74 and a receiving touchdown, in addition to 13 for 53 and a rushing touchdown. Quadre Olison got a rushing touchdown in this one. And then Julio Jones gets 10 for 166. Austin Hooper gets 7 for 82. Russell Gage, 5 for 49. Maybe had him as a what the heck flex, but Atlanta wins this one, jumps out early, 14-0 in the first, 17-3 by halftime, 14-0 in the first quarter. And then they just keep rolling and get this easy win.
Yeah, every year I wish I could remember who it was that started the thread on Twitter. Who's going to be the random week 16 blow up? The answer was Devonta Freeman. You had to feel good about that, Cease, right?
Yeah, all hair and ass. One more time.
One more time for old time's sake. If you trusted him, you're rewarded. If you like the whole idea of fantasy football karma, trusting Devonta Freeman, and really trusting that Jacksonville's defense was going to be bad, was going to be inviting, a welcome mat. Matt Ryan, we've gotten used to over the last few years in futile efforts in terms of seasons or even in terms of a game. He can put up numbers. So he kind of came through, it wasn't a smashing performance by him, but it was good enough to make Julio a league winner. What a finish. Julio Jones sees, I don't want to, horses. I'm treading into your territory. But, like that racehorse down the stretch that has that extra kick and gave your team that extra kick, Julio Jones. And, Austin Hooper had a solid game. You wonder, was Dan Quinn's job saved? This is one of those 3 teams mentioned by Ian Rappaport that what happens in these last few games may factor in the decisions. So interesting to think about these 2 teams propelling off each other. I don't know if it's good to read in a lot to what happens in the last few weeks of the year when the teams are out of playoff contention, but that's what we had in this one. And, a few springboards into championships from Atlanta.
Yeah, springboards into championships include Lamar Jackson, Ravens 31, Browns 15, next game up, and Lamar Jackson, huge 20 of 31, 238 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no INTs, wasn't sacked at all, 103 yards rushing. Fantastic. Mark Andrews gets 6 for 93 and 2 touchdowns. Mark Ingram's gets 2 for 36 and 1 receiving touchdown, in addition to 8 for 55 as a runner. By the way, Justice Hill got a rushing touchdown in this contest. And then you go down the list. Justice Hill also got 3 for 32 as a receiver. And then Seth Roberts, nice game last week, 2 for 23 this week if you had him as with that flex. Willie Snead, Marquise Brown, they're doing nothing. A catch for 6 yards between the two. The one catch going to Marquise Brown. But it's all Lamar all the time. If you had him, most likely you moved on.
Yeah. MVP, fantasy MVP, basically. We've been talking about it. McCaffrey, Michael Thomas, who both had great weeks this week, but so did Lamar Jackson. And this is another example, Cecil, I like to think about. We spend time on the cases we think that will kind of adhere to the mean, but it's the outliers that win fantasy football championships. And to imagine what Lamar Jackson could do this year with total alignment with the coaching staff, with the personnel, with his skill set. And we have it. I think we have that 2.0 running quarterback in terms of NFL possibilities on the field and fantasy possibilities, because he was making it look easy. And for a little bit in this game, it looked like Cleveland was the Baltimore kryptonite again, and then Lamar's like the last 2 minutes of the first half, the second touchdown, you have to see it to believe it, because there was 9 seconds on the clock. They had no timeouts, I believe. If he had taken a sack, he was going to cost his team points. And he steps up in the pocket and just, there's that moment, Cease, you can see it. It's the same kind of thing that happens with Mahomes, where it's like the game just slows down for him. There's all this chaos around him, but you can tell he's in the eye of the storm, and he made an incredible throw to Mark Andrews. So it was an inspiring season. And Cease, I know I've said it, I'm going to probably repeat myself a lot. The idea of fantasy giving you a chance to be part of someone's greatness. Winning a fantasy championship with Lamar Jackson this year was being part of the greatness that he is. Now, as far as the greatness that this team can become, Mark Ingram came through with a touchdown, got over 1,000 yards. There was talk, too, of Marquise Brown getting him the rookie reception record. He was 1 for 6, so one of the duds. One maybe cost you a championship, stubbed your toe there. Justice Hill looked good at the end with Mark Ingram going out with a calf injury. So now we're looking at him having the next 2 weeks off. But will he be ready for that divisional round game? Well, they have Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. They're fine. Although Kenneth Dixon got signed by the Jets, I believe. Pittsburgh's coming. And this game doesn't mean anything for Baltimore. Pittsburgh could still get in if Tennessee loses. But this Ravens team, one will remember this campaign by Lamar Jackson. One will remember and one to forget for the Browns.
One to forget for Baker the Baby Maker and the Browns. And Odell Beckham Jr. and Freddie Kitchens don't get along. Although ODB had 4 for 41 and a touch. And then Baker the Baby Maker had 2 touchdowns, 192 yards passing. And then Nick Chubb, 15 for 45 in this contest. And, well, Jarvis Landry, 7 for 74, right? That's pretty correct in what he does. You started Kareem Hunt as a flex play. You got 4 for 33 as a receiver, 3 for 0 as a runner. So disappointing all around. And, of course, Twitter exploded. Bloom, even I noticed it.
Yeah.
When Odell Beckham Jr. went after Freddie Kitchens on the sideline.
Yeah. Oh, the Browns offseason, as the world turns. Odell Beckham almost had like a 90-yard touchdown. Marcus Peters reached out. I mean, it was one of those ones where they're both running at full speed, and Peters was able to deflect the balls that was coming in, where you might have had your big Odell Beckham week. I guess he's been told by the team he won't be traded. That kind of approach doesn't seem great to me, but again, we're thinking off-season stories. Chubb and Hunt stuck in the wet cement. Not much here for this Browns offense. Landry was okay. Beckham got a touchdown later, skillful touchdown, but he was just okay. This team, obviously one of the underachieving teams of the year. Some of that might have been expectations that are too high, but regardless, is Kitchens going to keep his job? Where's this franchise headed? We end up right back where we started with the Browns again. This is what an entire NFL season can hold, Cease. I guess it's the off season really that held the promise. But we can see how we made a full 360 with the Browns, and we're back to square one.
And we're back, so says Vance Joseph. We're not talking about Cardinals in this one, but we will talk about New Orleans and Tennessee. And this game had a lot of fight in it from the Titans, but the Saints get the win. 38-28 is the final score. And Drew Brees on the road still had 279 and 3 touchdowns in this one. And Michael Thomas has almost everything. 12 for 136 and 1 touchdown. Jared Cook has everything else. 3 for 84 and 2 touchdowns. A big 61-yarder. That was fun to watch. Alvin Kamara, now he shows up in fantasy championship week. 11 for 80 and 2 rushing touchdowns, and then 6 for 30 as a receiver. So no one else ever does anything else outside of Michael Thomas, Jared Cook, and Alvin Kamara. Well, Drew Brees and those 3 guys did it all today to win.
This Saints team still very much needs to win out and see what else happens, whether they get the 1 seed, the 2 seed, or the 3 seed. That's a big deal. Superdome, that's a big deal. And early Cease, you saw this game looking like there's like the outdoor Saints. There's the indoor Saints and the outdoor Saints. There's the outdoor Saints. The Titans were kind of bullying them, pushing them around. Breeze wasn't really doing much. They weren't getting the engine to turnover. And then it turned back into the Saints offense we saw the last 2 weeks. That's that really good Saints offense. And they were moving the ball at will. Like you said, it's a pretty simple show here. Michael Thomas can't guard Mike. Couldn't in the record books. Truly that exemplary of a season. And it's the Brees to Thomas connection. Maybe the last year we get to see that. Cook, you see the trust. Also on this one of these touchdowns, Kamara throwing a block, Ginn throwing a block. So a team effort on these plays. Brees comes through for you. And Kamara has some of that burst, a 40-yard touchdown. So this is an example of fantasy karma where you've been struggling, suffering through, but if you had faith in him, if you stuck with him, Kamara rewarded you. So going to Carolina, I think they need some help. There's a lot of permutations to the math, the tiebreaker math. But Saints, they have to feel good peaking going into the playoff season. I know they did. I went Christmas caroling down in Jackson Square right before this.
Fantastic.
Got Cajun Santa here. And Cease, I swear, during the Christmas caroling at Jackson Square, they played When the Saints Go Marching In. We got 3 different Who Dat chants. They're feeling it, man.
Nice. Feeling good. The fantasy gods giveth bloom, as we talked about with Alvin Kamara, and they taketh away because no Derrick Henry today. Okay. Ryan Tannehill goes 272, 3 touchdowns, no INTs. In this one, Tajay Sharp, who nobody started, 5 for 69 and 2 touchdowns. Jonnu Smith, you started as a tight end, 1, 3 for 63 and a touch. Corey Davis, 3 for 40. AJ Brown, 1 for 34 as a receiver. But 1 for 49 and 1 as a runner, which had you tweeting about him looking like Anquan Bolden with tons of speed. Laviska Shenault. I might use a AJ Brown comparison for Laviska Shenault. So there you go. Deion Lewis takes over for Derrick Henry. 15 for 68. You went to the waiver wire, you picked him up. It's okay. 1 for 19 as a receiver. But, clearly without Derrick Henry, the closer couldn't keep the ball away from the Saints in the third quarter when they scored 21 points.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was just, and there was a Khalif Raymond knocked out, basically,
that they
concussion.
Didn't call a flag on.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
I don't know. So that was a play that allowed the Saints to get that extra stride because the Titans were driving. And Ryan Tannehill looks good. Look, Ryan Tannehill, I don't think is a fraud. See, so I don't think we're going to look back at this half a season and say that was a fraud. I think Adam Gase is a factor. I think just maybe that's the fraud, right? So in the offseason, they're going to franchise him or they're going to sign him, which they should. I mean, I get it, quarterback purgatory and franchise purgatory, but at the same time, there's clear forward momentum now with Ryan Tannehill. And take away Derrick Henry. No, it's not just Derrick Henry because the Saints defense is a good defense. Deion Lewis wasn't bad, but if you plugged him in, you wanted more. Dalen Dawkins got in the second half more. So Lewis, came up short for you. AJ Brown, touched the ball twice in this game and still was fine. Just you see how tough he is to bring down, and he has that extra gear. So he knows that's going to be a player Cease that people are going to be reaching. Is he going to be even like a second rounder, third rounder fantasy drafts next year? I think no lower than a third rounder, as long as Ryan Tannehill is there. Tajay Sharp, your third receiver. Corey Davis still hasn't arrived. Ryan Tannehill lifting all of these ships. Jonnu Smith, he comes out with a long touchdown. Again, you saw Smith and Brown going down the field like at the right and left fists, just bullies in this offense, and Ryan Tannehill making it work. So, in a bit of justice, Cecil, I have to say, sorry, my fellow Steelers fans, if Tennessee can beat the Texans, who would say they're going to play to win, even though there's nothing. They're locked into their seed. It's going to be Texans and Bills. So if they can beat Houston, they'll go to the playoffs. And if Derrick Henry is okay, this is an interesting team to match up with. I mean, this is a good Saints team, and Tennessee got into a heavyweight fight with them.
No, we could turn it into a Steelers show, Bloom, because I don't want the Steelers to make the playoffs. They don't deserve to, and two,
right.
They're not going to go anywhere.
Right.
All you got to do is make the dance.
The Steelers making the playoffs is like a headless corpse walking in, like because there's no quarterback. So it's a zombie from a team that could be good with a quarterback, but doesn't.
Well, and all they say is you got to make it to the dance, unless you're the awkward kid that stands in the corner and never asks anyone to dance and piddles a little bit anytime someone walks close to him.
Exactly.
There you go. Let's talk about the Panthers and the Colts. 38-6, the final score. Colts getting the win, and we had to see with Will Grier, right? And I know we got a ton of DJ Moore questions this week, and I was mainly saying, yeah, as a flex play, I like that, but I don't know about Will Grier yet. And I liked Will Grier in college at the Senior Bowl. Preseason was meh. Behind the scenes, team didn't seem to like him. They finally go to him. He throws 3 picks, 224 yards. First start, right, Bloom, on the road, whatever. McCaffrey gets fed 15 for 119 as a receiver, and then 13 for 54 as a runner. Nobody else did anything else. DJ Moore had to catch for a yard. That's it. So this is what you got with a rookie quarterback on the road for the first time. And if you did trust DJ Moore, even as a flex play, Bloom, you were disappointed.
Yeah, look, this was definitely a situation where if you saw Will Grier starting, you said, "Moo." I mean, you're going to play Christian McCaffrey no matter what. MVP. The only reason Christian McCaffrey isn't the true fantasy MVP is because you had to take a top 3 pick to get him. Unanimous number 1 pick, Cease. I mean, maybe the most unanimous number 1 pick in any of the years we've done fantasy football. Next year, Christian McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. I have to think so. Yeah. It's that kind of season. And what's incredible, Cease, is he's suffered through like nuclear winter at quarterback, and he's still excelling like in the Latani and Tomlinson, Marshall Falk, that kind of level of the engine of your fantasy team, of your offense. DJ Moore, again, if he backed away and said, Will Grier, I don't know. Well, he got a concussion. So, was that karma? Is that justice? I don't know, but it worked out for you. If you played the Indianapolis defense because of Will Grier, it kind of worked out for you because of Will Grier, but also Nyheim Hines with 2 electrifying punt return touchdowns. See, so when's the last time someone returned 2 punts for a touchdown? I can't even remember.
Devin Hester, maybe?
I don't know. Lots of questions for this Carolina. Talk about a crossroads, Cease, because you've got David Tepper, a billionaire who is certainly convinced of his own wisdom and brilliance, and he's going to make some sort of big move, right? Are all those kids transferring out of Stanford? This is like David Shaw. I don't know. Some big move. And it's going to be a big move at quarterback, probably, or at least a big decision with Cam Newton. This is a franchise at a crossroads now. And again, they're a team just slumping into the end of the season.
Well, let's talk Colts side, and you mentioned that with Hines, but offensively, Jacoby Brissett didn't do much of anything. 119 as a passer, no touchdowns, no INTs. 1 rushing touchdown to aid his day. Jordan Wilkins with a rushing touchdown. Marlon Mack with a rushing touchdown and 95 yards rushing. T.Y. Hilton 3 for 26. So it's not even worth going through the rest of these guys. I mean, Jack Doyle 2 for 17. There just wasn't much there for anyone.
Yeah, Will Grier wasn't able to put up much resistance, right? So Marlon Mack got over 1,000 yards, looked good doing it, got a touchdown. So that worked out for you. Again, looking at the matchup, like Carolina and Jacksonville have been teams that generally you've been right if you started players against them the last month, right? So that worked out for you, but not with T.Y. Hilton, not with anybody else in the passing game. Jacoby Brissett got a rushing touchdown at least. But I don't know if you were digging that deep. Jack Doyle has been a dud since Eric Ebron went out. And this is another team, Cease, like Jacoby Brissett. You go forward with him, you draft a quarterback, you sign a quarterback. So, they're stable as far as coaching and personnel and philosophy, but the most important position, very uncertain. It's going to be an interesting year with maybe some musical chairs at quarterback this offseason.
Well, let's get into the next game, which our buddy Frank Schwab wrote about, Bloom.
Okay.
And it is why the Bengals... They lost. They secured the number 1 pick in the most interesting way because it was overtime.
Yeah.
And it was 23 points in the fourth quarter to force overtime, but they still lost. And they still get the number one pick, 38-35, the final score. The Dolphins win. So let's talk about Andy Dalton with 396 yards passing, 4 passing touchdowns, 2 of them to Tyler Boyd, 9 for 128 and 2, 1 to Tyler Eifert, 4 for 57 and a touch, 1 to CJ Uzoma, 4 for 37 and a touch. John Ross had 6 for 84. If you had him in, it's a what the heck flex. And then Joe Mixon, 21 carries, only 50 yards on the day, couple catches, 23 yards to help things out. But okay, Bengals, Andy Dalton slinging it, right? But they do lose, securing Joe Burrow as their number one pick.
What a ride, Cease. What a ride. So let's just take that big picture for a second, okay? At one point on this week 16, there were 2 games in overtime. Both the games were 35-35, which in fantasy football is like, oh, you hear the game goes to 35-35, you're like, I want a piece of that, It's week 16, so it changes your destiny. Both games, simultaneously in overtime, combined featured the 4 worst teams in the league. I mean, really, the teams that were in the top 4 slots in the draft. So the worst teams create the most dreamy fantasy outcomes this week. And there were some weather worries about this game. No worry about that. And for Cincinnati, Cease, this was an emotional roller coaster because Miami went up 35-12. It was like, oh, Joe Burrow, pop the champagne. And they came back. I don't even know. It was like 6-7 minutes. I mean, this was a remarkable comeback in any year. In any year, you may see one comeback like this. And they were down 8. They had to make a 2-point conversion. Andy Dalton ran it in. It was incredible. Just incredible. So if you somehow, now what the other thing, this one was full of drama, Cease. One of the team reporters for the Bengals tweets out right before the game that Joe Mixon has the flu or a bug, and who knows how much work he's going to get. Okay, what do we do with that? The next thing is we see Travion Williams leading Mixon, I can't remember who else, and a few other players, and sees Mixon had that look. We've all been there, man. Almost like a hangover, the way he was moving. And a lot of people backed off of Joe Mixon. Mixon did scratch out like 8 or 9 points in PPR leagues, but if you got off of Mixon, chances are you helped your chances to win. So that changed some destinies. Tyler Eifert caught a Hail Mary. Did I mention it was a Hail Mary? Wow. And they got Joe Burrow, and they still went to overtime and lost and got Joe Burrow. And maybe they can get Freddie Kitchens first. For Cleveland, they can play really terribly. And that's the last laugh as they get Freddie Kitchens another year in Cleveland. What a season for Cincinnati.
What a season indeed. By the way, our man K1 wants to know why hello, friends.
Right.
Why am I using a golf voice?
It's going to break left to right.
I'm at a hotel, and I don't want to project ass crack and ball sack in the morning. It's mayhem in the AM. So yeah, I'll be considerate of my neighbors. We'll see if I have any neighbors. But anyway, let's talk about the Dolphins side of things. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, this is what he does. He wins on bad teams. 4 touchdowns, 419 yards passing. And the 4 touchdowns go like this. Devontae Parker, 5 for 111 and a touch. Mike Gesicki, 6 for 82 and 2 touchdowns. And then Christian Wilkins had a touchdown as well. Nobody started him. Myles Gaskin, maybe you had in 16 for 55 and a touch there on the ground. Okay, cool. Catch for 3 yards too. Nobody else did much of anything. Albert Wilson, 7 for 79 as we're back. And Isaiah Ford, 5 for 68. So there's plenty enough to go around. But mainly to the main assets, Fitzpatrick, Parker, and Gesicki. Good games for all.
This is a beautiful Cease. If someone had choices at quarterback and they're like, I'm going to go with Fitzpatrick. Championship, I'm going to go with Fitzpatrick. And they were rewarded for it. I mean, Andy Dalton might have done that in 2 quarterback superflex leagues. But Ryan Fitzpatrick was in a consideration, for your classical, typical 1 quarterback league. He delivered. I mean, like Lamar Jackson level delivered. Like gave you an advantage over most any quarterback. Mike Gesicki. Lots of tight ends going off. Tight end scoring everywhere. Mike Gesicki, Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker's grown up. See, if we just look at him in like second half of the year, he's a wide receiver 1. He's like a 2nd round pick next year. Now, all right, Fitzpatrick be back. Will be Tua. They play themselves out of Chase Young. with this win. They play themselves into Tua. That's some off-season question. Myles Gaskin got a touchdown, got hurt. Albert Wilson's even healthy. Isaiah Ford making plays here. So, Miami, I mean, I feel like this thing's on track. It's going in the right direction. And they kind of overachieved this year.
They overachieved unless you're the Steelers. And I actually don't really want to talk about this game because I was pissed.
I know.
And I think the funniest moment was when they had that video of the Steelers fan who had the duck hat on, a duck face on, and then the Hodges jersey, and he took it off. He had a Rudolph jersey. I'm like, man, I spend money on dumb stuff all the time. I would never buy a Mason Rudolph jersey.
No.
And somebody did. The Jets win 16-2. Congratulations, Chase Stewart. Congratulations, Jeff Brantley, man of the box. You beat a Steelers team at home. I mean, a bad Steelers team. Whatever. Yeah. It's over, right? It's just done. It's done. Hodges gets benched. Rudolph goes in. Rudolph gets hurt. Hodges comes back. James Conner does nothing. I mean, Deontay Johnson had 8 for 81 and a touch. Cool. James Washington, 5 for 41. Cool. Juju was back, 2 for 22. And James Conner, by the way, had 32 yards rushing. So this is what you get, Bloom. This is what you get. Just Ben, come back, please.
Yeah. Isn't that, I mean, that's where we ended up this year. Like, we would do anything, Ben, just to have another day with you, you know? What, really? I mean, Cecil, I feel like this is the dream where you look down and you're not wearing any clothes. Like the Steelers not having a quarterback is like, oh, wait a second. We haven't gotten a backup quarterback that's worth anything. Like, we don't even have Charlie Batch, you know? And you run out the door because you realize you're naked, and when you open up the door into the next room, it's just the same people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, today was like, oh, Hodges is terrible. Let's put Rudolph back in. Rudolph is actually okay. He gets hurt. Oh, Hodges. Like, we need the Paxton Lynch game just to see if he can. We know what we have in these quarterbacks. Maybe Paxton Lynch could goofily luck his way into something.
Well, he blamed the Denver media for his time in Denver falling apart, which is incredible that he would do that, but whatever.
Okay, well, maybe not. Anyway, even though the Steelers can make it to playoffs, I like to I want to think of this season as ended by the Jets. That just seems fitting to me. This season, the season of whatever, after all. So yeah, and they were reasonably productive in the passing game, even with Juju Smith-Schuster out there. And Juju actually, the game on the line, the ball was right there. I don't understand. He's a catch that he would make, or at least make a better bid for the ball. Deontay Johnson comes through. That pick's going to work out. If he has had these quarterbacks and he's popping another long touchdown from Mason Rudolph. James Conner gets hurt, and that's 3 years into the rookie contract. I just think you're not going to, as much as the great as the story was, as well as he's played, unless he's something like $2 or $3 million a year, which he might be, who knows? I don't think you're signing him to a second contract. I'd love to see the Steelers take a running back on the second day next year with this amazing class. They probably won't. Vance McDonald, he of the stiff arm. Jamal Adams just owned him. He took him down, like in one of them calf roping competitions. He made Vance McDonald look like a calf. So James Washington had a chance. He got his hands on a ball that could have been maybe a game-winning touchdown. And somehow the Steelers are still alive. And it seems like this is also, it's like magic 8-ball of a Steelers season. What's this Steelers season going to be like? The Steelers will be alive for a playoff berth in Week 17, but it doesn't feel like they deserve it. That comes up every now and again. That's where we're at.
Paxton Lynch will get them to the playoffs. Let's talk about the Jets and Sam Darnold, 183 yards passing, a touchdown, no picks. And it's Robbie Anderson, 2 for 32 and a touch. Jamison Crowder, kind of louder with Crowder, 4 for 60 in this one. Le'Veon Bell, revenge game, 25 for 72. And then 4 for 21 as a receiver. And, well, this is what you get between two bad teams.
This is what you get when Adam Gase is your head coach. Again, we talked about this, and I feel like that is the lowest point you can be on the wheel of football franchise karma, is Adam Gase is in charge.
It's like the wheel of pain when Conan was a little boy, and they just put him on that crane wheel that drilled into the ground, and he just went until he grew up into a man.
Right.
Except it's just constant pain and nobody's growing.
Yeah, exactly. No one's growing up into anything in this Jets organization with Adam Gase. So that's kind of a last laugh thing. But they got to win. And the first drive was good. Anderson got the touchdown. Bell played hard, and he showed up to the MetLife Stadium in black and gold today, Cease. What's that all about? What's that all about? Come on back, Le'Veon. Come back, baby. Come back. Crowder did a little bit. So, the Jets. It was all like when we were watching Adam Gase in the offseason, we were thinking, why would you do this? All the really easy, low-hanging fruit jokes. Like, you just hired a coach that Miami fired. What? Yeah, they were right.
Yeah, way to go. They're right with the Giants. I don't know. They're right with Daniel Jones. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, there are no more jokes about Daniel Jones. That's for damn sure. 41-35, the final score. It is over Washington, but still in overtime. Kid comes back from the ankle sprain, throws for 5 touchdowns, 352 yards. The 5 touchdowns go like this: 2 to Caden Smith, 6 for 35 and 2. 1 to Saquon Barkley, 4 for 90 and a touch as a receiver. Barkley had 22 for 189 and a rushing touchdown as well. Huge day. Sterling Shepard gets a touch, 6 for 76 and a touch. Cody Latimer, it's so good that Cody gets involved. 5 for 44 and a touch there as well. Golden Tate leads the way with 6 for 96 in this contest. And, well, Jones back. They hold on, takes overtime, but they get the win.
I guess we got to start calling him Danny Dimes again. I mean, he was the nickname in this one. This is that other observed. See, I called it the disharmonic convergence. Remember the harmonic convergence in the 80s when I called the planets lined up? This is like all the worst teams in the NFL lining up to be the most important teams in fantasy football's most important week. But Dave Gettleman's got to be feeling good. I mean, what Daniel Jones is doing coming out of his rookie year. Saquon Barkley. Oh, did he come alive? Sleeping giant. If
Him
you
and tomorrow, right?
Yeah, well, but he did it in week 15 also, but week 16 was atomic, seismic in this one. Slayton got dinged. Opened the door for Cody Latimer redemption. Cecil's still hanging around. Got an NFL career. Making some plays. He played Sterling Shepard. You're happy. He played Golden Tate. Pretty happy. Caden Smith, 6th-round pick. Yet another Stanford tight end. Game-winning touchdown in overtime. 2 touchdowns in this game. Another one. Look, if you're playing Caden Smith in any way, shape, or form, if you're playing Daniel Jones in any way, shape, or form, well, you're playing him in a 2-quarterback super flex league for sure. But, this was a fun miracle that these players ended up being weak swingers. Daniel Jones was fantastic in this game, and this game just broke wide open. It was the Chase Young sweepstakes game. The loser wins, Chase Young, maybe, and with Miami's win, that makes that more likely, and Washington, the loser, the winner losers.
And weak swingers got my attention, Bloom, because I'm in a hotel and I was like, what is the weak swingers?
It's down the hall in the suite.
I guess so. Oof. All right. Sorry, Joe. I guess. I don't know. We're all adults, except we act like we're 12. Case Keenum looks like he's 12 and plays like it too. Okay. Touchdown for him. Dwayne Haskins, 2 touchdowns before he's out. And then the touchdowns go like this. Steven Sims, Kansas, what's up? Jayhawks, how's it going? 2 touchdowns for Steven Sims. You might have picked him up on the waiver wire. You might have plugged him in. What the heck, flex? And then Hale Hintages gets the other touchdown. And there you go. Nobody even rostered him. McLovin gets 7 for 86 in this contest. Adrian Peterson goes 15 for 36 and 1 rushing touchdown. By the way, Case Keenum with a rushing touchdown as well. But Washington's got some things to work on, Bloom. Probably the one team, and apologies to Washington fans if you're out there because, well, it's been rough. But this is the one team that you can't even root for. I like Haskins a little bit. I love McLaurin. I'm not rooting for this team at all. I don't care if they suck forever.
Yeah, Cease. Well, it's like, what's worse, being a Washington fan or a Jets fan? I don't know. They're both the bottom. Yeah, that's the argument, But I'll cheer it up. Christmas cheer, right? Dwayne Haskins got a bent and hurt. I just hope he doesn't have surgery. Probably not going to see him again. But he's been playing better. He still looks a little awkward out there, but he's making results. Now, here's a team that in 1 year, in one offseason, rebuilt their wide receiver group, right? Throw money at Paul Richardson, Josh Doxson's wasted pick, right? But now you got McLovin, got banged up at the end of this one. He looked good though. You've got Kelvin Harmon can do some third wide receiver stuff. And Steven Sims, they got this guy undrafted. He's a return man. He's got speed. He's running some good routes. He's evolving before our very eyes. So this is working out. Adrian Peterson got a touchdown. It's nice that he was relevant in week 16 and pretty much came through. Not a big hit, but not a disappointment. So this team is still in position for Chase Young now. Chase Young, Montez Sweat. They've got Haskins. They've got a core offense. I don't know who their coach is going to be. Dan Snyder's going to mess this up some way. But for now, at least, this team looks to be in a lot better shape going out of 2019 than they were going into 2019.
Speaking of better shape, the Denver Broncos have the same exact record that they did this year at the same exact time, except it feels so much different. 27-17, the final score. Broncos beat the Lions. Let's talk about the Lions before we get to Drew Lock. David Blau didn't get benched in this one, but he, 117 yards, a touchdown. Was to Kenny Golladay with that devil get out line, 6 for 66, and 1 touchdown for Kenny Golladay. Danny Amendola, you thought would do more, 2 for 21. Didn't. Logan Thomas, 2 for 17. Just nothing here. Kerryon Johnson was back, 10 for 42, and then a catch for a yard. So this team couldn't get much of anything going and fell way short against a Broncos team that's trying to get on the come up.
Yeah, and a team that it's not difficult to picture an alternate universe 2019 where the Broncos are contending for the 6th seed easily. Just a few plays. Like you could pick 3 or 4 plays, these probably, and they're contending for the 6th seed and maybe deserving of it. If they if you played them early. Just let him play. Kenny Golladay came through. Kerryon Johnson at least got to play. Danny Amendola did not come through. Detroit just above Jacksonville, Carolina. When we're thinking about the teams, forget the records, just how teams have played in December, among the very worst, bottom 5. I say top 5 because I think of the teams we wanted to target, right? You generally were right playing players against Detroit. So even though Matt Patricia got his pardon from the governor and is going to come back for another year, is that a good thing? Probably not. Is it a good thing that Vic Fangio is coming back? Probably.
Yeah. It's good. If you like getting yelled at, go to the principal's office. That's what it feels like. Some players have said that. It feels like principal's office. That's fine. Certainly building a culture of toughness because most of this team had the flu. Some guys couldn't even play or tried to play, like Dalton Reisner, and then just left because he couldn't play. Drew Lock had the flu, 192 and a touchdown. It wasn't quite Jordan's flu game. Lock's a big Jordan guy. Bloom, the Jordan game is a great intro to everyone in the Broncos locker room. So I will say that. In addition to loving Jordans, it's also a great, hey, what nice 11s or whatever. So let's talk about Drew Lock, who got it to Deshaun Hamilton. And here's the thing, Bloom. You go back to the Lions games. Look at the third receivers that have beat up on these guys, including Randall Cobb, including Rashad Perriman, who is the third receiver, and Deshaun Hamilton, the third receiver. There's one other one. Alan Lazard was kind of the third receiver or whatever. But you've often seen third receivers beat up on this Lions team because Darius Slay playing hard, and 5 for 41 against Cortland. There was 2 touchdown passes that Darius Slay was able to knock away, or else Sutton would have had a larger day. Tim Patrick, 5 for 48. Deshaun Hamilton, by the way, 6 for 65 and a touch. So nearly matching Kenny Galladay's Devil lineup. Noah Fant, only a couple of catches. So tight end explosions like Mike Gesicki, whatever. And then Fant was only targeted 2 times. Caught both of them. Philip Lindsay, hashtag feed Phil, and they got it going. 19 for 109, 1 rushing touchdown. Also 2 catches, 9 yards for Philip Lindsay. Royce Freeman got a rushing touchdown. And this team is energized by Drew Lock, who, by the way, had 192 yards and 1 touchdown on this day. 25 to 33 passing, so very efficient. And Bloom, the first game, he didn't throw an interception. So here we go. Progress from Lock. Bad game against the Chiefs. Bounce back against the Lions. Next up, the Raiders. And next up, 2020 with hope in Broncos.
Exactly. You've got a plan now, right? I mean, you've got to you can picture what you're trying to build.
Because they let him play, bud.
They let him play, bud. You know, I mean, it was quiet for fantasy for Drew Lock, but it's pointing up. It's pointing up for Cortland Sutton, even though he didn't come through for you in the finals. Tim Patrick, and again, he's giving them something to think about because surely they're going to go shopping for wide receivers this offseason. Deshaun Hamilton, I mean, he's honestly, I think, playing for a roster spot next year with the likelihood of them bringing in some more talent at wide receiver. Noah Fant, like you said, coming up small, but overall very promising for him and Locke, and his strengths may make Fant a pick they can get more out of. Philip Lindsay, fantasy karma there. You know, I mean, it wasn't a massive splash, but if you trusted him because of the matchup, again, playing players against these teams that are just doing the shuffle home and not really playing their best has been good to us in fantasy football. So, you know, Cease, it's, you know, your team, another one looks very, as you said, different situated going out of 2019. It's been a transformative season. Vic Fangio overseeing it, and you know, maybe he's getting credit for something he wasn't that big of a part of, but he's going to get another chance next year.
This is the first offseason in a while that John Elway won't have to hear about drafting a quarterback.
Well, yeah.
So there you go. The Raiders. I know our man Jason, the DFS degenerate pot stoner up in Greeley's been waiting for us to talk about this one. The Raiders 24, the Chargers 17, and Derek Carr, who I don't know why reports suddenly came out like he might be on the hot seat. He's been on the hot seat all year. They, you know, could have gotten or really wanted Kyler Murray. Probably couldn't have gotten him, but still, like, yeah, Derek Carr on the hot seat. Shocker. He goes 291 yards, 1 touchdown, no INTs. The touchdown to Hunter Renfrow, 7 for 107 and a touch. He is the new Brandon Stokely. Terrell Williams, 4 for 82 in this one. Darren Waller, 4 for 37. It's enough, you know, 7.7 points in PPR leagues, decimal scoring. DeAndre Washington in for Josh Jacobs, goes 23 for 85 and 1 rushing touchdown. Also 2 for 21 as a receiver, so over 100 all-purpose yards and a touchdown. Very good. By the way, Derek Carr got a rushing touchdown as well. And the Raiders get a win on the road. Not really, because the Chargers probably were using silent counts in their own building, but whatever.
And you know, maybe this was kind of like the Raiders' last home game. I mean, there's a lot of Raiders fans in LA. It certainly wasn't like a Chargers home game. Carr was solid. Hunter Renfrow looked explosive on his touchdown. You saw some burst, and yeah, you know, he's found a home. DeAndre Washington, a hit for fantasy, and I don't think he's an above average NFL running back. That's not a knock. An average NFL running back is a really good running back, but he had enough to harvest the value here. Darren Waller, kind of an underachiever in this one. Probably lost your tight end matchup with him, which you didn't expect this week. I don't know what to say about Oakland, Las Vegas. It's going to get weird. It's going to be really weird saying that. You know, John Gruden, I mean, see, you could take a selection of 5 Raiders games and watch them and say, wow, Gruden's really got this team going in the right direction. You could take another selection of 5 games and feel like it's a laughing stock, this team. So I don't know. You know, just I know there's going to be some people making money off this team. I know that.
Rivers, Phillip goes 279, no touchdowns, no INTs. Keenan Allen, 5 for 71. And Mike Williams, 3 for 51. Hunter Henry, 5 for 45. And then to the running backs, Melvin Gordon, 9 for 15 and 2 rushing touchdowns. And then Austin Eckler, 4 for 11 on the ground. Eckler had 5 for 58 as receiver. And Melvin Gordon had 6 for 32. So Gordon really comes through with the big day. Doesn't lead to a win.
So Oakland's probably another team that we should at least put on the list of maybe quarterback transition. You know, John Gruden's going to have a chance to think about it at least. And what about the Chargers? What about Tyrod Taylor? What about any number of possibilities for the Chargers at quarterback that aren't Phillip Rivers because he's a free agent? And we've talked about this. We've talked about this, that Rivers probably doesn't want to be a backup. And if the Chargers aren't going to pay him market value, then is this it? And again, I've mentioned this. I feel like, is this little seed going to gain any momentum that we might be seeing Phillip Rivers for the last few times that we're going to see him on an NFL field? Because there's no fanfare at all. And he's playing like a player in that late December of his career. He was a miss for fantasy. Allen was a push. Eckler was a push. You know, they didn't help you win. They weren't reasons that you lost. Mike Williams didn't do well as Rivers wasn't doing well. Gordon was okay. because he got a lot of short passes and he got a couple of touchdowns. So he came through for you, not because he was necessarily excellent or an important factor for the Chargers in this game, but because he got to harvest a lot of value. And, there you have it. See, another Charger season where you feel like when it comes together, this team should, at least on paper, be able to hang with anybody, but they underachieve, same as it ever was.
Same as it always is. And Dallas and Philadelphia. Oh boy, this is like a huge Thursday night show, like topic, basically. Even the next one, really, Arizona and Seattle to wrap it up. But Cowboys 9, Philadelphia 17, and oh boy, Dallas, okay. Let's put in Tavon Austin because of hashtag reasons. I don't know. Let's talk about Dak Prescott, who goes 265 through the air. Michael Gallup, 5 for 98. Randall Cobb, 5 for 73. Amari Cooper, 4 for 24. Ezekiel Elliott, 7 for 37 as a receiver. 13 for 47 as a runner. So you had that, but we've seen this Eagles defense just get abused by much lesser teams with much lesser talent. And the Cowboys couldn't. Tony Pollard, by the way, 100 yards and then 0 yards. Like, what?
Humble.
What?
Yeah.
Dallas? Jason Garrett's trying to get fired.
You wonder. I mean, that's it, right? Like, you come out of this game and think he's going to get fired. Now, of course, Philly still has to take care of business next week, but terrible team on the road this year. Dak was able to get enough mustard on the ball, but he didn't have his feel. He was just off in this game. And because of that, Dallas lost, basically. Give some credit to Philadelphia's defense for a spirited play, but it was because Dak was off and Elliott wasn't doing anything. He wasn't adding any value. Cooper was a dud. Gallup was okay, but none of that play that changes the game. So this is it. I mean, really, see this when you boil down to, if you played a Cowboy, you were sorry today, except for Gallup. And even Cowboys fans are especially sorry unless it means that they fire Jason Garrett. And this is just like the birth pains, Cease, right? Like, oh, push, get Garrett out. Let's see what this team can do.
Ooh, Eagles pushed and pushed with 319 yards from Carson Wentz, 1 touchdown on the day. And Dallas Goedert gets the TD, 9 for 91 in this one. Zach Ertz, 4 for 28. Miles Sanders, the star of the day, 20 for 79 and a touchdown, and then 5 for 77 as a receiver. Greg Ward had 4 for 71 if you plugged him in as a flex play, and nobody else did much of anything else, but the Eagles didn't need to do much.
No.
Because they win.
They win, and Carson Wentz was solid. Carson Wentz actually has been pretty heroic with not much at wide receiver these last few weeks. It just has to win next week against the Giants. They can host a playoff game. And again, we know these 8-8 type 9-7, 7-9 division winners that seem to be, the underdogs in the first week of the playoffs can often end up winning a game. And we know this Philadelphia team sees they're like cockroaches. I mean that in the nicest way. You just can't kill this Philadelphia team. And then once you get to the tournament, this is a team a lot of players on this roster know. Once you get to the tournament, just got to, execute. Miles Sanders executed. So how high does Sanders go in draft season? I mean, are some people reaching for him in the late first next year after what he's done, And he can still get a lot better. Jay Moyer does a lot of great work at RSP, shows up. There's runs he's leaving on the field if he just gets a little more discipline. Whew. Dallas Goedert. So we saw Zach Ertz get a little banged up in this one. Rib issue left for a little bit. Dallas Goedert growing up before our very eyes. And he and Wentz have something good going there. Greg Ward was okay. So beat the Giants. Get a playoff home game against, I guess, Seattle or San Francisco. Sounds like a good game to me. Sounds like, time to get excited about the playoffs.
Sounds like it's time for the Seahawks to sign C.J. Anderson.
Yes. Or Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, well, he hates Russell Wilson.
Yeah, but he likes playing football for Seattle.
Yeah, that's true. True. But
just let me have this.
Sure. We can dream, right?
Yeah.
Arizona beats Seattle 27-13 in a very interesting contest. And Bloom, all the time during Broncos games, I'm like, what happened? And then I look at the box score, I was like, oh, Kenyon Drake. That's what happened. Adam Gase is like, nah, this guy can't play. And well, Cliff Kingsbury's like, yeah, he can. 166 and 2 touchdowns. Amazing. Larry Fitzgerald 4 for 48 and a touch in this one. I don't think Christian Kirk played, right, Bloom? They were calling
No, he
him back
played,
up,
but
so he did
it was
play.
like he didn't play.
Right, 5 targets, no catches. But this day was all about Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, my good friend Uriah Zane Hunt is going to beat me in a long-time league that we're rivals. His league he started because of Kenyon Drake and Dallas Goedert, tight end premium league. I had the lead, Cease. Like after the early games, I probably had like 80% chance to win. I was up by about 40. I think I had like 6 players left. He had 9 players left. And then it just shrunk and shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. And then he went ahead and farther ahead and farther ahead. And it was Kenyon Drake and Dallas Goedert and a few other players. Kenyon Drake. I mean, so here's a fantasy karma lesson, right? You didn't play Kenyon Drake last week. You somehow survived. And in the back of your neck, you feel like, I'm not putting him on the bench this week. Like, I promise I won't put him on the bench this week. You profited. Yeah, Kenyon Drake out of the clutches of Adam Gase and helping fantasy teams win championships. Kyler Murray got hurt. That was a bummer. That was one of the things that went wrong for that team. I think I need Mike Boone to get like 28 C's. So I'm looking for a Mike Boone Christmas miracle. Christian Kirk a dud. What happened to David Johnson? What happens to David Johnson? Cease, does he go back with Arians in Tampa? Are they even able to trade him? I mean, he's due 10+ million guaranteed next year.
That contract is awful, by the way.
Yeah, don't sign running backs to long-term contracts. Is Larry Fitzgerald going to be back? You know, he was okay. He can still play, you know. And Arizona, you know, I mean, there's an element of a rebuild that is a tear down. And this was like a tear down and starting to just tinker with what the foundation's going to be at the same time. And in that sense, it was a success. You know, they turned the cruise ship around. We'll see where it's headed.
You trusted Tyler Lockett.
Oh, God. That was another thing that went wrong.
1 for 12. The fantasy gods giveth and taketh away. DK Metcalf, nothing. Jacob Hollister gets 5 for 64. Okay. Both running backs get banged up, CJ Prosise and Chris Carson. And then Russell Wilson gets 1 touchdown on the day. Touchdown to Nick Malore, who nobody rosters. So here you go. Seattle with an embarrassing home loss to the Cardinals.
And yet, Cecil, if they beat San Francisco next week, they're the 2 seed or 3 seed, maybe, you know. That's the Seattle team for you. It's funny because Kate, you know, watches a lot of football with me. And we were watching the Seattle-Arizona game. She's like, I thought Arizona wasn't good. Wait a second. You know? She's like, I don't understand. I thought Seattle's good and Arizona's not good. What's happening? Yeah, Russell. So basically, like Dallas, right? If you relied on someone from Seattle, you were sad today. Russell Wilson, sad. And Arizona's supposed to be a good matchup, you know? Chris Carson hurt, sad. And CJ Precise promptly gets hurt at that point. You know, been waiting all year when it's Precise going to get Travis Homer. You know, he's got something to add, but they're going to do something at running back. CJ Anderson would be excellent. Marshawn Lynch would be a dream. That's your Christmas miracle. Tyler Lockett, you know, there was a few chances for targets downfield, especially late, some desperation targets. Didn't work out. DK Metcalf blotted out by Patrick Peterson. Like you said, Jacob Hollister did a little bit, but the touchdown went over Jacob Hollister's head to the fullback. And I mean, I don't think Seattle's a good team, but Seattle could still be a team that gets a bye. They could still be a team that you have to consider because of Russell Wilson in any one game scenario. You know, they always have a chance to win. And they have that next week for the division. They have that next week for a top 3 seed. They have that next week also for sending San Francisco on the road to Philadelphia week 1, you know, in a battle royale kind of way. So, and there you have it. And that's the kind of week it was in week 16. It was pretty crazy, and it had some justice, and it had some things that felt unfair, but it probably will keep us coming back.
Well, Bloom, we could talk about the Sunday night game.
Yeah.
It's over, basically.
Right.
Or we could just talk about this season as we wrap up. We'll do a week 17 preview. I don't know when.
Friday,
probably. Yeah, that sounds good. You know, and everyone will enjoy Christmas and all that kind of good stuff. So I'll let the floor be yours, brother. We can do a little Sunday night, or we could just talk wax poetic.
Yeah.
I'm seeing Star Wars for the 3rd time in 10 minutes. So
that's excellent.
There you go.
This has got to be like one of the first offshoot podcasts. Is you just need to do a podcast after you see the movie at midnight, you know. So I mean, in Kansas City, Chicago, if you counted on Chicago in the end, like, oh, I'm going to count on Trubisky and Miller and Robinson had been top 10 receivers the last month. Well, Spagnuolo's defense gets some credit here. Chicago officially out of it, looking like a team officially out of it. Patrick Mahomes, not necessarily a weak winner for you in this game, but still, I mean, not necessarily rivaling Lamar Jackson, but he did all right. Kelsey does all right. Hill underachieves a little bit. And Kansas City looks really good. Now they're a balanced team with Steve Spagnuolo's defense. I mean, as far as the season goes, Cease, we've been lucky to do this and watch technology really change the nature and essence of what we do, right? I remember how neat it was when we had Blog Talk Radio and we got to interact with the people that listen to us. Got a little crazy sometimes, but that was part of the fun. I remember when we started in video, like pushing video out to people through on networks. I remember when we switched over to this kind of hangout video, and it was really excellent because it felt like I got to spend time with my friends that I love dearly. And really all the football talk is just an excuse to spend time with people that it uplifts me to spend time with. And also just the nature with social media, Twitter, the depth and breadth of number of interactions we can all have with each other. It's wonderful. It's about relationships. I've got to figure out and find that Hall of Fame Canton speech where somebody was saying football is really about relationships, but life is really about relationships. So seen a lot of names, a lot of people that have been part of the ride with us this year and many years before in the chat room. And of course, we still have week 17 playoffs getting set, the playoffs. We still have a great college football playoff coming up. I mean, if you just freeze, I'm not a big college football fan. I just don't have a lot of time to devote to it. But I think that when you think of the college football playoffs, this is about as exciting group of 4 teams as we've had. The Jalen Hurts Oklahoma team is like the team that's maybe a tier below the top 3. So that's exciting. Of course, down here in New Orleans, are going to love it. So football continues to, bring us excitement. It turns the crank of time. It keeps us propelling forward. And 2020 is going to bring some incredible things no matter what happens. And we're going to continue to be here. And we're not really going to go away, draft and all those other things, football diehards, 365. So we'll be back for week 17. And it continues to be a great privilege to get to do this, even if you make decisions like I did that will haunt you for the rest of your life. See, I'm going to be on my deathbed and I'm just going to go like, oh, I should have played Robert Quinn.
I should have never traded Jamal Charles.
I've got a jersey to prove it.
You do. Very good. Very good. We appreciate each and every one of you. Hope everyone has a great holiday season. First day of Hanukkah today, right, Bloom?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever.
Yeah, to new beginnings and
Everyone
to endings.
Just be good, man. Happy winter solstice.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just have some fun. Let's rock and roll, baby. And we will not really be going anywhere. I'm not going to do any Thursday night live shows for a couple months, but like YouTube promotes shows, and we're trying to avoid being in that YouTube purge that do shows regularly. So an excuse for me and Sigmund to hang out for 20 minutes. You guys can
and folks, if you have ideas, and I want to solicit everyone out there, if you have ideas of things we can do to be serving you in the off season or even during the season, please always let us know, because I always want to hear it. Mm-hmm. Look up the Swamp Dog letters from kids Santa. By the way, they played it on WWOZ. It's really good.
All right, that's a wrap, everyone. He's Sigmund. I'm Cecil. We're the Audible. And go see Star Wars. It's not great. It's not bad. Third time, I'll break it down. I'll explain.
Star Wars, not great, not bad.
Not great. Better than Last
Lammey.
Jedi. Stay frosty.